What business are we really in? There are several key drivers at both the consumer and the farmer level that are affecting one of the things that I think we all love to do: eat healthy, delicious, and nutritious food, that make that question perhaps the most important question we can be asking ourselves. The answer will largely determine our future success. It will drive our capital investments, company cultures, customer success, and the story we can truthfully tell the world about farming, fertilizer, and the future of food. We're going to dive into all that in just a minute. But before we do, can I just say, wow, a fertilizer conference in Monaco? Who doesn't want to be at a fertilizer conference in Monaco? And perhaps, maybe, just maybe, fertilizer isn't the only reason you're here. As I look across the room, I see leaders from across the globe in the industry, and it's such a pleasure to be with you. Me, I'm the guy with boots on the ground, and my boots are often covered in your fertilizer. And I'm excited. We're at an incredible convergence of consumer preferences, biological technology, and a growing demand for global solutions that demand scalable solutions for which agriculture, and specifically the fertilizer industry, is uniquely positioned to supply. I work daily with progressive farmers in a very environmentally sensitive area of the world, the Chesapeake Bay watershed. And as a result, I hope I can bring a unique perspective to you. At Willard, we too are asking this question of, what business are we really in as an ag retailer? We used to say we're in the liquid fertilizer business. About 4 years ago, we shifted that focus and began to articulate our business as one of being in the plant nutrition business. That slight shift has helped us meet customer demand and recognize opportunities to grow that in the past we may have missed. It's a subtle fundamental shift in thinking that profoundly affects our business, supplier and customer relationships, and our ability to grow and be profitable in the future. As we continue to ask this question about what business are we really in, we're beginning to question if we're not in the human nutrition business. By enabling our growers to produce affordable, nutrient-dense food while simultaneously solving vexing environmental challenges. Why does this matter? If the fertilizer industry wants to thrive in the next 2 decades, we must incrementally, and let me be clear, I am not suggesting some radical restructuring of our industry, but we must incrementally shift our focus from being in the fertilizer business to being experts at feeding soils and people. You may be saying to yourself, but Mike, aren't we doing that already? I mean, the fertilizer industry started the Green Revolution, and we provide abundant food throughout the globe. That's true, but continuing business as usual can lead to an uncertain future. Let me show you. Looking to the future through the lens of how many Earths it takes to sustain life, for example, when everyone lives like our friends in Luxembourg, or the United States, or heck, even Monaco, we face a real challenge in managing the resources necessary to sustain life for our kids and grandkids. This is not just a set of shifting preferences. Asking the right questions can help you see your business through a slightly different lens And when you do that, you may realize that the answer to some of those questions has been hiding in plain sight. Hiding in plain sight. What do I mean by that? When asked how to influence farmers, I've developed a concept called outcome-based agriculture. Let me ask you, what's the one outcome that farmers get consistently rewarded for? It's yield, and lots of it. Unfortunately, when it comes to other outcomes often associated with agriculture, like the environment, climate change, and human nutrition, my perspective is we do a poor job of developing ways to connect the one outcome farmers relentlessly chase, yield, to solving some of these other problems. We're missing opportunities to support farmers in achieving their yield goals while simultaneously enjoying the rewards of solving some of these other important problems. Look, there are a lot of really smart people in this room, and I completely understand it if you'd say, why should I be listening to you? Heck, remember, I'm the guy with your fertilizer on my boots. But I was always taught to pay attention to your customer's customer. So I want to talk just for a minute to anyone who's in the room who's a fertilizer producer or broker. Your customer's customer is my customer, the farmer. My customer's customer is in many cases the consumer or a food company selling directly to a consumer. If we're going to be successful and profitable in the long term, we must create alignment in enabling farmers to achieve not only a plentiful yield, but also get rewarded for outcomes that consumers and food companies are willing to pay us for. And if we don't, someone who competes against us will. Here's the good news. We can be very financially successful and profitable while simultaneously feed people in a way that supports a great quality of life for our planet and for future generations. There's 3 things I've discovered asking this question about what business we're in. Sorry. Drivers shaping the marketplace and the mindset of farmers and consumers. The power of incremental change and the importance of being able to tell our story transparently and in a way that's easily understood. Let's start with drivers. At the farm level, I'm witnessing a dramatic shift in how some of my most progressive farmers manage their soils and crops. You may be surprised to learn that in my part of the country, we've got growers that have been pursuing innovative regenerative farming practices for an excess of 25 years. When you look at their total budgets, their dollar spend per acre is equal to many of their peers in other parts of the globe. However, their budgets are structured quite differently, with fewer dollars going to the investment on the macronutrients of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. This is largely driven as we've learned that the over or excess application of these nutrients can be as detrimental to yield as they are to the environment. We're seeing a shift to an investment in things like micronutrients, soil additives, plant biostimulants, cover crops, no-till production, and more. Growers are discovering that the glass ceiling on yield can no longer be broken with their traditional more is better nutrient and crop management philosophy. We're learning to activate the rhizophagy cycle in the root zone and the nitrogen reductase pathway in plants, achieving remarkable and dramatic increases in nutrient use efficiency. By the way, If you're in the crop nutrition or crop protection business and those two processes that I just mentioned are not familiar to you, I would encourage you to learn about them very quickly. And here's the exciting part. Our highest yielding environments are increasingly limited by our plant's ability to photosynthesize. That's right, they're limited by sunlight and the carbon dioxide needed to power that sunlight to produce harvestable dry matter. Building and storing carbon to power photosynthesis and achieve the next level of yield, building and storing it in our soils has never been more important to achieve higher yields and nutrient-dense foods. Think about that. The same barrier that's holding us back from achieving the next level of yields is also the solution to one of the global challenges called climate change. Bloomberg recently reported that trillions of dollars are expected to be spent in the next 2 decades on direct air carbon capture machines. Wait a minute. Isn't that what plants do? With some focus, incremental changes, and a better job of telling our story, we as an industry are ready to scale hundreds of millions of direct air carbon capture machines today and at a fraction of the cost. This regenerative systems approach to agriculture will take us to the next level of crop production. We will still have to apply nutrients to replace the nutrients that are removed when people eat the nutrient-dense food our farmers grow. However, how much of those nutrients, the amounts, the forms, and the timing will look dramatically different. At the consumer level, as people work to improve the quality of life for themselves and their children, other outcomes are increasingly coming into the spotlight. Interestingly, these are not unique to any political party. From Texas to the European Union, regulations are being developed to better define healthy and ultra-processed foods. Deloitte's sustainability reports that many health insurance companies are developing food as medicine programs. The theme here is that healthy and nutritious matters, and to make those claims, it will have to be supported by evidence. Simultaneously, in the developed world, the use of GLP-1 weight loss drugs is skyrocketing. Many studies point to significant changes in the purchasing behaviors of the consumers of these drugs. These people are buying more whole and nutrient-dense foods. Nutrient-dense foods. That sounds like an opportunity for someone in the nutrient industry. Nutrient-dense foods will increasingly become a consumer demand and an imperative to feed people in a way that doesn't deplete our planetary resources. Whether you're talking to someone in the health and nutrition space or someone in the environmental space, the solution to many of our challenges is the same thing: growing high-yielding crops regeneratively. Next, as we continue to think about this question of what business we're in, it's important to understand the power of incremental change. Again, I'm in this industry, and I'm not up here recommending some radical restructuring of our business. But small changes made today can have a big impact. In his book, Atomic Habits, James Clear shares the analogy of a plane taking off from the west coast of the United States in Los Angeles, bound for New York City on the east coast. If upon takeoff, the pilot adjusts the heading of that plane just 3.5 degrees, initially the nose of the aircraft only moves about 7.5 feet, or a little less than 2 meters. But if they continue on that course, by the time they reach the east coast of the United States, they will have to land in Washington, D.C., not New York City. That's a difference of 225 miles, or 362 kilometers. This principle of small changes over time can literally transform our businesses and our world. Again, What business are we in? And what small adjustments to our business are we making today to remain profitable and relevant in the years to come? There is no single solution. Instead, we're going to have to experiment with many small changes. It starts with incremental change and doing a much better job of telling our story. But think about it. What wonderful things could happen by 2050 if we change the focus of our businesses by just 1% today? So let me ask you again, what business are we in? When we answer that question in the light of feeding people affordable, nutritious food, it becomes a little easier, I think, to ask, how do we best make money doing that? Finally, as we think about what business we're in, telling our story is incredibly important. I don't know about you, but I get really tired when our industry is often painted as the bad guys, when in reality, we have been and can be a key part of a solution to so many of the challenges our world faces today. However, being able to tell our story transparently and in a way that consumers and policymakers understand has never been more important. The opportunity before us is clear. I want to encourage you within the next year, take some small incremental steps. What are some ideas? Perhaps increase the percentage of your R&D dollars to go and work on nutrient use efficient technologies. Or develop a relationship with someone outside of our sector, perhaps a food company, a tech company, or a conservation group. At Willard, we've developed a robust relationship with the Nature Conservancy, for instance, which has been very beneficial and positive for our business. Heck, come visit us in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, and let me introduce you to some of these progressive growers so you can better understand how they're farming and managing their crops and soils. The bottom line is to do something, to just adjust our hitting a little bit so that we can have a big impact based on a powerful message. We can have a lasting and positive impact that creates incredible shareholder and planetary value, helping farmers grow and people eat some delicious food. I recently had a conversation with a farmer named Aaron who lives and farms near my home. Aaron is a leader in regenerative and innovative farming practices. He runs an 800-hectare poultry and grain operation and has been actively involved in developing new innovative regenerative farming practices. As I was talking with him about what he's learning, he described it as, Mike, I learn something new every day, but it's kind of like walking into a room that you've never been in before where the lights are off, and we've all done that, right? And you're feeling along the wall and you're looking for the switches to turn on the lights. And every once in a while, he finds a switch and flips it on, and it reveals something new and incredibly exciting. And he concluded by saying, I learn something new every day, but I'm on a journey that feels good in my heart. Let's lean into the opportunity to nourish plants and people better, and to shift our story so that everyone can flip those switches, think differently, and see us as a solution to some of the world's most significant challenges. We need to take this on. Most importantly, the world is counting on us. Our kids and grandkids are counting on us. Let's rise to the challenge. Thank you.